very annoyed because he was a bit of a lech, wasn't
Only
he?
there was some sort of internet.
Some kind of completely reliable interweb source. No, I'm sure he was wasn't he a little bit sleazy, and didn't he give Mia Farrow the eye or something? I don't want to, I don't want to disrespect him. I could get in trouble here. But I'm sure that Beatles fans will keep us fully abreast. Before we get back to that, Harry, I meant to play this ages ago. For some reason, I don't know why I only just got around to it. But there's a cracking show which sometimes on Radio 2, sort of an occasional programme, and it's hosted by Six Music's Mark Riley. You know it's going to be quality if Riley's involved. And I think it's called Mark Riley's Time Machine. And it's a good idea. It's basically taking classic interviews that are sat there growing dusty in the BBC archives, and shamelessly repackaging them so you can play them again. But actually, it's great if you're a music fan who doesn't want to hear Boy George being interviewed brilliantly by Simon Bates around the time of his drug bust. But Simon Bates
Bates' drug bust?
Oh, please. Batesy doesn't even know what drugs are.
No,
that's how clean living he is. But Batesy, that incredibly earnest voice. So then you used cocaine. And it's extraordinary. But anyway, one of the interviews that they dug out was an early interview, I think from 1976, with Tom Waits. Now, you know I'm a Waits fan.
Yeah.
And a guy called Tim Blackmore, I don't remember Blackmore, but I guess he was an interviewer, worked for the BBC around that time, and he interviews Waits. I think it might be the coolest interview I've ever heard, because, the interviewer is obviously trying to get decent answers from Waits, and Waits, without managing to be sort of arrogant or facetious or rude or nasty, just manages to be utterly cool and never give a straight answer. And so have a listen to it, and just, if you can think of anyone cooler, then do.
Is it possible for you to say, Tom, what tradition of rock stroke pop music you see yourself being a part of?
You mean what category I fall under? I don't know, I've never fallen under a category. I fell underneath a car once, and I haven't been the same since. I kind of am a bit of a curator, a raconteur, a collector of nocturnal emissions and improvisational adventures into the bowels of the metropolitan region, and I do inebriational travelogues. I'm a pedestrian piano player, and I get by all right.
The first time I ever heard the name Tom Waits, somebody said to me, "Oh, he's a folk singer."
Yeah.
Now, would you ever have answered to that name?
You mean if somebody came in the room and said, "Is there a folk singer here? We need a folk singer. Is there a folk singer in the house?" That's a pretty broad statement,
Well, they have to know which browser to put your albums in.
That's right. I've been in miscellaneous for a long time, so I guess I'm a miscellaneous singer. Friends of mine would give their left nut to be doing what I'm doing now, so I don't complain too much,
So you've worked out where you are now, that's fairly clear. What about when you actually started getting into music? I mean, how did you come into the professional sphere?
Originally set out to be a professional service station attendant, and so I'm just taking the breaks right now. I'll get there someday. Right now I just kind of moonlighting.
Can you remember what your first professional engagement was? When you actually really started and you got paid for the first time?
I was changing tires on miscarriages, and I was making like just minimum wage. I had a good job sweeping up every day at a little place called Napoleon's Pizza House. Down the street was the Golden Barrel and the Westerner Club, Burge Roberts Mortuary, and a Sorensen's Triumph Motorcycle Shop. There was a Club 29, a Melody Club, Raphael's Silver Cloud Lounge, and Escalani's Liquor. I was working as a dishwasher and cook, and
So how did you move from that into getting paid, or getting paid most of the time, I imagine, for music?
Started working as a doorman at a club and listening to a lot of different kinds of music. Kind of put a wild hair up my ass and gave me an idea to start performing myself.
The big things musically then would have been the Beatles and Dylan.
Yeah, they were real popular.
Now, which of those two do you think you would have felt closest to?
Well, I didn't really feel that close to them. I mean, I used to call, but they never would return my calls, you know what I mean? You got a light, John, and so I don't have a match. Oh, good, thank you. Right now I'm working on the material for an album called Pasties and a G-String. I know you have G-strings over here, but you don't have pasties, do you? You know what pasties are? Well, pasties are the little buttons on the boobs, you know? They put buttons in a little tassel, you know, and I shake them around. And they go with the G-string. They hate to break up a set, you know? I mean, you can get the pasties and not get the G-string, but it costs more. You might as well get the G-string thrown in.
Little Trip to Heaven on the Wings of Your Love, Tom Waits, from his debut album Closing Time from 1973. And before that we heard that extraordinary interview with him from a couple of years later, which I genuinely, I mean, I think there's a sort of poetry to it. It's extraordinary. Is there one, what was one of the lines that, was it, did he say inebriation or travelogues?
Yes.
Was that a description of what he wrote?
He even makes saying, he even makes that cool.
But what's interesting is it doesn't feel kind of snide and sneery, you know what I mean? He somehow manages to make it seem kind of just charger on one of his albums. You know, it feels like it's got its own sort of poetic logic to it. When he starts listing various places near where he may or may not have once worked, and they're all just so, you know, there's a morgue and there's a bike shop and everything. But I just think that, is there anyone now who gives interviews like that, who's as thoughtful and as eloquent and as poetic?
No. Don't think so.
There's got to be a few contenders, surely. Do you know who I'm going to turn to?
Go on.
Only the listener. If they know, then they'll tell us.
Text us on 64046 or email stephen.sixmusic@bbc.co.uk.
One of the things that frustrates me a lot with, you know, a lot of your modern artists, they don't think enough about that side of it, you know? About the interviewing, about the showmanship. It angers me. Why don't they come and seek my advice? Why don't they come and seek me out? Six Music. I know we've been through it many times, and whether or not you feel like me that the boss is one of the greatest men on the planet, nevertheless, I think it would be a foolish person who says the boss doesn't understand showmanship. We just heard Waits doing the greatest interview. Now, I don't know if any of you caught the Super Bowl halftime show that Bruce did last week. It was on very late. But it began with him back against Clarence Clemens, silhouetted against a giant screen, recreating the famous cover of the Born to Run album. He comes down, he sort of starts, the music starts to play, and bear in mind he's being broadcast to, you know, hundreds of millions of viewers, you know. Is he nervous? Is he? Heck! And he just starts making, you know, he starts pointing into the camera and he's saying, for the next 12 minutes I'm going to entertain you, put down your nachos, leave the chicken wings aside, and he comes in, 10th Avenue Freeze Out starts playing, does a great performance of it. As the music's playing, he's sliding on his knees across the stage. He slides right into one of the cameramen. You know, it's a great moment. We all love it. The crowd cheers. You know, he apologises to the cameraman as he gets back on his feet. He even manages to play one of his current songs from his album, thus plugging that. Brilliant. Segues then into Glory Days. Packs the whole thing into 12 minutes. You know, boom, boom, boom. It's entertaining. And I genuinely, I don't think there's a greater rock and roll showman on the planet. And this is something else that annoys me about the talent of today. There's a lot of good musicians out there, but where's the people kind of with one eye on the Vegas showmanship? You know, it does anger me. We've talked about this before. Those people with bands, they come on, they just something into the microphone, and they just start playing their chug, chug, chug rock, and they just rattle through 15 songs, and they F off again. And there's not so much as a by your leave, is that a phrase? I mean, even Dylan, who I adore, you know, he is
dreadful.
Oh, live, he's an annoyance, isn't he? I mean, considering he's on the never-ending tour, it feels like the never-ending show when you're there.
Yeah.
His piano is normally positioned to the left of the stage, so you can't even see it if you're in certain seats. I don't think he says a word the whole time. You cannot identify what songs he's playing unless you happen to catch a snatch of one of the lyrics that you recognise.
Well, he tends to change both the words and the tunes.
Exactly.
Makes it very difficult.
I think possibly, and this will get some people's back. So I do think that whenever you think of Coldplay, Chris Martin's becoming a very good showman. Got a great sense of, you know, of engaging with the audience, and that's what it's about to me. You know, I've been to see The Cure several times now. I love The Cure, but man, they make no concessions to their audience. They seem to be slightly annoyed that you're there, And the fact that they've written such engaging tunes, songs that we want to be able to sing along to, the fact that they've done all that, and yet they seem so reluctant to draw me in, to engage with me, to let me be part of the party. Instead, we've just got to listen to 7-minute interminable B-sides. We're not interested, Robert! Tell us where you bought your eyeshadow! And so this is what I'm saying. I do think, genuinely, if you're an aspiring indie rock band, okay, and you're wondering how do you mark yourself out from the crowd, okay, aside from writing the great tunes, watch Bruce at the halftime show, okay? You may not like the music, you may not even like the kind of show he puts on, but you will not be able to deny his showmanship. And that man has maintained a stadium-filling career for some 30-odd years.
But here's the problem, Steve. Are the bands of today getting to stadium status too early, before they've honed their craft on stage?
I think there's a confusion that some people make, is that they feel that if they are in some way showman-like, that somehow undermines the integrity of their music. You know what I mean? That if they're sort of seen, it's uncool somehow. That the music should speak for itself. Why do you need me to talk to you? You've come along to the show, you've paid your 15 quid, you've come here to hear the music. Of course you've come to hear the music, but there's nothing wrong. You know, you're on a stage, there's lights on you, for goodness sake. It's like saying, oh, we shouldn't have microphones. It's not exactly the same as that, but you see my point. It's that at what point are you compromising if you're engaging with the audience? If you're saying, we respect you as an audience, we respect the fact you're enjoying the music, I'm drawing you in to my world. I'm trying to communicate with you. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? Once again, young bands, if you're out there, email, get in touch, seek out, think of me as a guru. I'm here. I'm a BBC resource. Okay, you can just get in touch. You can say, Stevie, dear Steve, you know what you're talking about. We're called, you know, I don't know, the Lemon Drops. Okay? Is that a band?
Yeah.
The Lemon Drop Kids. They're called the Lemon Drop Kids.
Okay.
Right? And they're as ever now, they're doing some kind of synth indie fusion, right? There's a girl on drums, so it's very 21st century.
Quite angular haircuts.
Very angular haircuts. Maybe they don't wear trousers on stage. They've spent a long time developing the image. A lot of these people now, they spend a lot of time doing the image, they spend a lot of time working out what typeface they're going to use for the band name.
It's all about the font.
It's all about the font, but they've not thought about the stagecraft. Get in touch, alright? Email, you know how to get in touch. Guys, seriously, if there's one person who knows about being on stage, it's not me, but I've seen a lot of people on stage.
Yeah.
And I have an opinion. Here's the boss. Taken from Bruce Springsteen's new album, and of course also the title track of the new film starring Mickey Rourke, which I heartily urge all to go and see. It's cracking. The Wrestler.
Yeah, well, he's written it for the rest of the film, but what he should have written it for is this new TV show. Have you heard about it?
No.
It's Hulk Hogan's new reality wrestling show with celebrities. It's called Hulk Hogan Celebrity Wrestling. Basically, Hogan...
Do you know what? I don't think you needed to explain what it was now. I think you could have just told me the name of the show.
I probably could have. It features Hogan, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, and Nasty Boy Brian Knobs. And then training up the celebrities.
Nasty Boy Brian Knobs? It's like an burger van.
Yeah, I can't remember what his special move was, but anyway. They've got Dennis Rodman.
Oh, blimey.
They've got Todd Bridges, who used to be Willis in Different Strokes.
Wow.
And who's this? Well, they've only got Screech, Dustin Diamond.
Oh,
Saved by the Bell.
hang on a minute. He's going to be cracking some funnies as well, isn't he?
You'd have thought so.
Is he going to be running around the ring, sort of being chased in hilarious ways?
But yeah, I mean, we're getting closer to the day where a celebrity's going to die in one of these programs, aren't we? And I think this could be the one where someone goes.
Rodman would destroy Screech, wouldn't he?
It doesn't
Screech
seem
is
like a fair
pencil thin.
matchup.
But so hang on, is this legit wrestling? Is this Greco-Roman wrestling? Is this kind of Olympic-style wrestling, or is this the same sort of novelty wrestling as...
No, they're going to be split into two groups and taught the same wrestling moves, and then they're going to create a big